Welcome to Animania Chronicles, where we dive deep into the captivating worlds of anime, dissecting stories, unraveling characters, and sharing our passion for all things animated. Welcome back to Animania Chronicles. In this second installment of our review series on the rising of the Shield Hero, we dive deeper into Naofumi's journey as he faces new challenges and uncovers hidden truths. Stay tuned, and don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth analysis. He wondered if he would chicken out of the duel and run off, but Naofumi threatened to destroy him. That night before the duel, Naofumi tried taking a weapon, but it electrocuted him, and the system warned him not to take any unassigned weapons. As they faced off, Masaru told him to surrender before he wipes his ugly face across the arena floor. However, Naofumi thought action speaks louder than words and decided to activate a new shield, readying himself for the fight. With Masaru ready to destroy him, he began charging towards him and ran his shield continually, but could not even cause a scratch. Naofumi told him that he was a sore loser and said that he had no chance at beating him since he couldn't even pierce his shield. Looking to put in more effort, Masaru activated his Chaos Spear and began attacking with relentless onslaught until Naofumi was exposed, allowing him to slit his arm. Determined to make it even, Naofumi began running towards him and successfully punched him in the gut as Masaru realized that a balloon was sucking on his meat. Naofumi revealed the other balloons that were stuck to him. This was his secret weapon, and since he had no offensive attacks, he made good use of them to leverage his weakness. Angered to see him fighting back, Masaru thought of ending the duel with a powerful jab, but Naofumi shielded it and knocked him away with his two-headed dog shield. Before he knew it, Naofumi launched an airstrike shield at him and trapped him inside a shield prison. Inside the prison, Masaru realized that a few balloons were trapped with him, and he was unable to escape. All the people began to call Naofumi a useless coward that was too useless to fight, so he decided to release him and told him to surrender. But Masaru told him that he would rather walk to China. Pleased with his response, Naofumi told him that he would destroy his pretty face so he would never get laid for the rest of his life. However, just as he was about to begin the facial reconstruction, a mighty wind blew him away, and he realized that Mine had used her magic on him. Angered by her cheating, he thought of destroying her at that moment, but narrowly dodged Masaru's spear and successfully blocked all consequent attacks. As Masaru drew his lightning spear, he unleashed it straight at Naofumi, successfully penetrating his shield and knocking him out. With Naofumi weakened from the attack, Masaru declared himself the winner. However, as he began to leave, Naofumi accused him of cheating and said that Mine had attacked him from behind, but everyone was silent in the arena. This made Naofumi think he was hallucinating and soon began to wonder if everyone was dead in the eyes. Before his eyes, the king began to congratulate Masaru, and at that moment, Naofumi realized that Mine was actually a princess. All this time, they had tried to destroy him just because the king intended to hook up his daughter with Masaru, and even the duel had been a total setup from the very start. He was angry that they had summoned him into their disgusting world and still decided to hate him for doing no wrong at all. This made him angrier, and he thought of destroying every person inside the arena. Just then, a minister said that Raphtalia would now be freed from her slave curse, and all the people wondered why Naofumi's ugly face was summoned into their world anyway. Before his eyes, they revealed Raphtalia's crest and doused it with a potion that caused it to vanish. At that instant, the system revealed that his contract with her had been terminated as Mine led her away. Naofumi's anger grew tremendously, and he threw his shield far away, but it vanished and reappeared on his arm. As he screamed his anger, saying that this entire world could rot in hell for all he cared, his curse series activated. At the same time, Raphtalia smacked Motoyasu, wondering why he had to stick his nose where it did not belong. She told him that Naofumi was a good master to her, and that he only activated her curse when she was too afraid to fight. Mine thought she was being disrespectful to the love of her life and tried smacking some sense into her. But Itsuki and Ren arrived at that moment. Ren demanded to know why Mine had cheated. Motoyasu wondered what was going on, but Ren knew better and told her that they were all unwilling to speak up because they were afraid of the king. As Raphtalia approached Naofumi, she tried telling him that she was still the same person as before, but he told her to leave. As she tried to touch him, he smacked her away, telling her to leave since their contract was now broken. However, she could see deep into his heart and began telling him that she believed him and would remain by his side forever, just as she promised. As he grew angry, thinking he was hated because of his shield, he tried ripping it away, but she stopped him. She told him that the shield was more powerful than he thought, and that it was the only reason they managed to save the village from total obliteration. Naofumi told her that he was a bad guy and never intended to save the village, but Raphtalia knew better and decided to hold him. She told him that she could see into his heart, and even though he pretended to be bad, she knew that he was a good guy. She told him that she was his sword and would follow him to the ends of the earth. Hearing her words, Naofumi realized that it was all he had ever wanted to hear. He remembered that she had told him these exact words right before the waves arrived. She told him that she would stay with him forever, and before his eyes, he finally saw her true grown-up form. She told him that she was no longer the kid he remembered and asked to stay by his side for the rest of her life. As they held each other close, Motoyasu thought that Raphtalia was still under a spell and wondered just how he could break them up, but Itsuki told him that he was either blind or incredibly foolish. The following day, Raphtalia gave Naofumi some leftover food from the castle kitchen. As he ate it, he realized that this was the first time he could ever taste food again. When Naofumi was confused as to who she really was, she told him that her clan grew quickly as they leveled up, and that this had been the reason why they were considered inhuman, because they grow 4 times as fast as a regular kid. That day in the castle, the king announced that Motoyasu would be paid 4,000 silver for fending off the waves and rewarded Itsuki and Ren with over 3,000 silver. However, when it was Naofumi's turn, he decided to pay him 500 silver. But before he could even take it, Naofumi said that he deserved no reward, having lost his duel to Motoyasu. At this point, Itsuki thought he was starting to overdo it and said that he would have won the duel fairly and squarely without any interference. Hoping to clear her name, Mine began saying that Motoyasu had won the duel fairly, but Itsuki was having none of her excuses and called her a cheater. Ren told them that Naofumi had saved the nearby village when the waves invaded and believed that he deserved to be rewarded even for that good deed. Realizing he had no other choice, the king commanded that Naofumi be paid the least possible amount and told him to get his horrendous face out of the castle. As Naofumi grew angry at his words, Raphtalia told him that they were better off leaving this place anyway. Naofumi agreed, realizing it was probably true, and they began to leave together. That day, they decided to return to the slave merchant to activate a new slave contract on Raphtalia. When it was done, Naofumi discovered that he had acquired a slave user's shield. As he noticed a few monster eggs, the merchant offered to sell one, telling him that it would make some good meat in the future. Thinking it might come in handy, Naofumi decided to buy one. When they arrived at a medicine store, the owner gave Naofumi a book of herb recipes, calling it a gift for saving the nearby village. Afterwards, they visited a magic shop, and the old lady gave them a grimoire, saying that it was a gift for rescuing her grandchild at the village. She told him that if he successfully studied the book, he would learn many useful spells for battle. That evening, Naofumi realized that he really needed a translator. Raphtalia suggested that they learn the language together, and since there was still a month before another wave's invasion, Naofumi agreed. The following morning in the village, Naofumi and Raphtalia watched as the dragon egg hatched. Immediately, the bird flew on top of Naofumi, taking him for her parent. As the days passed, he took on that role and watched the bird grow rapidly. By the end of the week, the bird had doubled in size, and Naofumi thought his growth boost skill probably helped. He decided to name her Philo. At that moment, they discovered that another hero had appeared in the village. In the village square, Mine began telling the villagers that the king had declared Motoyasu the new lord of the village and said that in their efforts to rebuild the place, they would begin taxing everyone for their entry and exit. The villagers thought this was the worst possible announcement they could hope for, and a man said that they could barely have 2 meals a day. However, Naofumi asked Mine if she was delusional and if she suffered from a mental illness. He said that the taxes were ridiculous and that there was no possible way the villagers could afford them. As the villagers began to show their support, Mine commanded her soldiers to draw their spears. Before they could attack, a mysterious group appeared before her and handed her a scroll. Angered by the words inside, she decided to challenge Naofumi to a race, saying that the winner would take charge of the village. Afraid of losing their village, the villagers begged Naofumi to accept the challenge, but he thought it was another trap from Mine. As he prepared for the race, Motoyasu started bragging about his dragon, calling it the monster version of Usain Bolt. Philo grew angry and kicked him away. As he landed on a haystack, he realized that she narrowly missed his critical area, and Mime was afraid that his vital functions might be compromised. As the race began, both heroes took off immediately. Philo gave Motoyasu some distance, blowing dust into his face. However, one of Mine's soldiers cast a spell and created a hole in the ground. As Naofumi was too late to notice, the bird slipped, allowing Motoyasu to take the lead. This only made Philo more determined, and she soon regained the lead. Even so, Mine would not accept defeat, so her soldier cast a new spell to slow her down, allowing Motoyasu to take the lead once more. But Philo was bent on winning and breezed past Motoyasu's dragon, even blowing dust on the princess. Desperate for victory, the soldier cast another spell to increase Motoyasu's speed, but Philo was no quitter. As Motoyasu moved into his way, Naofumi discovered the holes before him, so using his airstrike shield, they jumped over the hole and continued charging towards the finish line. Raphtalia and the villagers tried showing support, and even Mine was afraid that this race might go south. As the blood rushed from the adrenaline, Philo managed to win the race. With the villagers happy about the victory, Philo suddenly doubled in size, leaving even Naofumi in shock at the sight of this. Mine thought she could use it to her advantage and began to accuse Naofumi of cheating, but he called her the cheater. When she tried to deny it, the mysterious group appeared again, and the leader said that they had sensed strange magic around the racecourse. Having no other lies to tell, Mine decided to accept defeat, saying that they would be returning to the castle immediately. Hoping to regain some self-esteem, Motoyasu told Naofumi that he allowed him to win on purpose, but Naofumi called him useless and told him to give his life a purpose. That evening, the village chief told him that they had started saving up to reward him, but Naofumi told him that he didn't want their money because they needed everything they could save up in rebuilding their village. As he began to wonder what else he could demand for, Philo pointed at a carriage, choosing it as their prize. So that evening, they began riding away in the carriage. When Raphtalia became sick from all the motion, she hurried out to vomit. That night, Naofumi decided to lay her by the fire, hoping that she would feel better in the morning. As he looked at the traveling path the village chief had given him, he remembered that he told him they would be allowed to travel across the country without paying a dime. So he began to wonder if they could begin a part-time traveling business. Just then, Philo decided to cuddle up with him, but when he woke up the following morning, he found a little girl by his side. He backed away immediately, wondering who she was, but she told him that she was hungry. That morning, when they arrived at the weapon shop, the smith wondered just how many wives Naofumi intended to have in his harem. When Philo noticed the food, she told him that she was hungry, so the smith asked her to take a bite. At that instant, Philo transformed into the bird and swallowed everything in one gulp. After her meal, Raphtalia began telling the smith that the slave merchant had told them about Philo's kind and had said that few of the birds often hatched as the king or queen of their flock and that they often have the ability to take on a humanoid form. On top of that, they needed a special crest before they could be tamed. But when they tried to give Philo the crest in hopes of forming a new contract with Naofumi, she had initially resisted before eventually agreeing. When the smith demanded to know what they really wanted from him, Naofumi asked for a special kind of dress that would be a perfect fit for transforming species. The smith told them to visit a dressmaker because he was definitely not one. When they arrived at the dress shop, Naofumi told the dressmaker that they wished to make Philo a dress that would not rip apart whenever she transforms. The dressmaker told them that they would need magic threads to sew transforming clothes for her, and said that the cloth would be made out of Philo's own mana because it was the only way to create a solid connection with the material. However, since they had no magic threads, they decided to visit the magic shop. The owner told them that she had run out of magic gemstones. She explained that the stones were rare to come by, but promised to find them within a few days. That day, as they began traveling around the village, hoping to earn some quick cash from running errands, they came across a villager, and Raphtalia thought it might be their lucky day after all. The man told her that he was heading for the village to help his mother with a special medication. Realizing his prayers had just been answered, Naofumi offered to give him a ride for 1 silver. However, the man told them that he was worse than broke, so Naofumi told him that he could repay him with some food instead. Hoping to arrive faster, they decided to ditch the carriage, and Philo took off at once. As they approached the entry, the guard asked for their fee, but Naofumi threw his pass at him and called himself a VIP. After arriving inside the village, Naofumi offered to give the sick lady her potion and told the man to go count the stars or something. When the man was gone, he increased the power of the potion and gave her the drink. At that instant, her spirit revived, and she got up as if she were never sick. The man gave him food that was worth about the same amount as agreed. As Naofumi rode away, he thought he might become a millionaire soon, realizing he could begin charging broke travelers for their food and eventually sell it for cash. As the days passed, he continued with this process and tried to study the grimoire every night. A few days later, as he began transporting a new merchant, the man told him that he had grown famous around the villages, as they had begun calling him their savior for healing sick people with his healing ability. At that moment, they realized that several bandits were standing in their way. The leader told them that they intended to rob the merchant inside. However, Raphtalia decided to take his place and cast a mirage spell that made her invisible. As Philo cast a tornado at the bandits, she finished them off in an instant. With the bandits all bound up, the leader told them that another traveler had informed them about the merchant and said they would make $1 million from robbing him. When Naofumi wondered what they should do with these scums, the merchant suggested handing them over to the local guards. However, the bandits thought they would easily walk away, and the leader told Naofumi that everyone would believe that he was actually the villain, as the castle had done a great job of naming him the most useless hero in the world. Realizing he wouldn't be coming out on top, Naofumi threatened to eliminate them all and told Philo to prepare her belly. Afraid of meeting their doom, they began to beg for their lives, so Naofumi agreed to spare them in exchange for all their valuables. That evening, the bandits began to surrender their loot, and Raphtalia thought they had become bandits themselves. However, the merchant told her that it was a perfect deal and decided to make Naofumi his inspirational hero. Even so, Naofumi would not be flattered by his words and demanded an additional reward from the merchant. The man told him that he was willing to share his knowledge and connections with him, saying it would be worth more than gold and silver. That night, the man began showing him how to craft gems and imbue them with energy. Along the way, Naofumi managed to pick up a few spells, and within a few days, he was able to craft gems on his own. By the end of the week, he had found a place in the trader group and learned that Motoyasu had saved a dying village by discovering a legendary crop that grows even during famine. On the other hand, he discovered that Ren had traveled through the southeast looking to slay new monsters. Additionally, the merchant had offered him a parting gift of a large portion of his possessions. When Naofumi showed the deed to a mining chief, he told him that he had struck a gold mine and offered to provide him any gemstone he wanted. Naofumi told him that he wanted the magic thread gemstones so that he could at least make Philo a real dress. The following day, they began traveling to the site, having received directions from the chief. Before long, they arrived at the ancient site. When they reached the end of the cave, they found an empty chest and wondered what might have been kept inside. As Philo pointed them toward a new passage, they began to head deeper inside. Shortly, they discovered a monster's footprint, and the magic lady told them that it was a dangerous beast. At that moment, his torch went out, and they began hearing mysterious voices. The magic lady told them not to listen, saying it was merely a trap to divert their attention. She immediately cast an anti-bind spell to break the illusion. As they discovered several bats before them, Philo cast a wind spell to blow them away. With all the bats dead, Naofumi decided to absorb them into his shield and soon acquired a new skill. As they continued through the passage, they finally came across the gemstones, but realized that a new monster had made this its home. Naofumi wondered how they would acquire the gems, worried that the monster might destroy them all. But Raphtalia and Philo suddenly charged at it. That's it for today. Stay tuned for part 3 of our Rising of the Shield Hero review series. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the vast realms of anime. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and stay tuned for more thrilling reviews and discussions. Until next time, keep exploring the boundless wonders of anime with us.